All right, hello everyone and welcome. Today is the Scientific Governance and Risk Meeting number 156 on August 26, 2021. My name is Peyton. I go by Pros11 on the forums and the chat, and I'm joined here today by a bunch of people interested in Maker, a number of them contributors, core unit people looking to give updates, discuss Maker things, and whatever we end up talking about today. So do a little standard housekeeping before we get started too much. As always, we keep these meetings open. So if you have questions, comments, feel free to either speak them when there's a moment to do so, or you can post in our side chat. I'll try to ask any questions that get thrown up there in a reasonable time frame. Typically how we do this, we'll start with a few updates, and then at the end of the call, there's generally some time left for general discussion. So if you do have questions related to updates, I do encourage you to ask them when the various people are presenting. And if you have more broader topics, you can either throw a comment in the sidebar or maybe try to save them till the end so we can discuss them a little more fully. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the housekeeping stuff. So I will start the meeting officially by going over governance things for the past week. It's been a pretty busy week. So not a ton of stuff vote-wise to update on, but a few important things. So for polls, we do still have 3 ongoing polls. There's 3 green light polls. They end on Monday. So if you haven't gotten the chance to take a look at those, please do so before Monday and the votes close. A reminder for those for the governance process, part of the ranking on how we do the green lights is based on the vote differential between the yeses and the nos. So even if your option is already winning or already losing, it still is helpful to put your vote in there. We also had our ratification polls for the monthly governance cycle wrap up on Monday. I don't want to steal Blimpa or MIP editor's thunder, so we'll save the results for those till later in the call. Little teaser for you. Yeah, you can always visit the voting portal if you can't wait for those results. On the executive front, we have had 2 proposals passed since the last meeting we had. The one from 2 Fridays ago solidified our budgets. That executed, I believe, on Tuesday, and did a few housekeeping changes. There is one other thing it did, and I'm blanking on. Oh, yes, the Maker Open Markets Committee proposal. So also did some rates changes. And the one that most recently passed should be eligible for execution tomorrow. And that will bring a bunch of new vault types. I saw that Matt is on the call, so maybe he'll want to tell us a little something about 6S. I know that's a pretty exciting one that's been long in the works. We're also adding Matic and the PAX PSM. As well as lowering some liquidation ratios. So you should see those effects take place on chain tomorrow. Awesome. So that does it for the governance things. The one other update is we did talk with the mandated actors, and unless something drastic changes in the next hour, we will not be putting up an executive proposal tomorrow. So you will get a little break from voting on the executive side. Cool. All right, with that, I'm going to kick it over to Artem to give us the forum at a glance update, let you know what's going on our forums.
All right, bear with me for a second, just figuring out the iPad controls.
Looking good there.
I don't think it's letting me share. Hold on. All right.
Try now. Just refreshed it.
All right, now I just have to.
Good morning, guys. I just got off the call. Sorry, I'm late.
Can you guys see?
Looks good, Artem, and welcome, Bourbon.
Hey, all right, great. All right. Welcome to the Forum at a Glance, a weekly review of what's happened on the forums for the week of August 20th to the 26th. Beginning with announcements, Friday's executive on August 20th was delayed to go live. Peyton from GovAlpha Core Unit published a post detailing two main factors which caused the compounding delay effect. The executive went live the next morning on August 21st with everything functioning properly. Next, Sebastian from Real World Finance Core Unit announced their partnership with JST Capital. They will both work together with Centrifuge and their asset originators to bring on-chain securitization to institutional investors. Sebastian also published a detailed roadmap for on-chain securitization based on their internal monthly audit, along with the initial review of the new Silverton Lake legal structure by Sherman and Sterling. We have Brian McMichael from Protocol Engineering Core Unit, who announced that they are preparing a new PAX PSM deployment for August 27th executive. They will propose the initial debt ceiling of 50 million DAI during initial deployment period, with hopes to increase that debt ceiling up to 500 million DAI in the following executive. Next up, Philip from the Dux team published a postmortem of a bug that they discovered, which caused the governance portal's on-chain effects tab on the executive vote detail page to display an error message. This data relies on external API sources, which were unavailable at the time. The Dux team details the current situation along with what they plan to do next. Moving on to popular discussions of the week. Following discussions of institutional and long-term vaults proposal, A's from Real World Financial Core Unit seeks community feedback on proposed scenarios that are analyzed for the economics of the institutional vault terms and assess their impact and revenue. We also have Makerman, who works that we are giving away our hard-earned information without restrictions or rights by publicly posting the legal IPs constructed by real-world asset entities. And in response, he promotes the community for comments and discussion on how to best manage this situation. As the Maker protocol attempts to scale exposure to real-world assets, Paper Imperium discusses that Maker is required to institute better internal controls as we become large enough to afford them. He proposes that the real-world finance core unit should be split into two, one focusing as a business core unit and the other focusing as a risk core unit. Check out the post for a much deeper discussion. The second largest United States mortgage lender, UWM Holdings Corp., plans to start accepting cryptocurrency payments this year, beginning with Bitcoin. So Spider-Mo suggests that we contact them to see if they would be interested in accepting DAI as their first stablecoin for mortgage payments. FedStrat initiates a discussion of questions around how stability fees affect the TIN overdrop ratio, specifically in New Silver. Diego from Clufco team promotes a discussion on the idea of improving the metrics and measurement of voting participation and voting activity. Finally, Ammon suggests that the idea of recurring revenues by Maker in the hope of promoting reliability to users who would rather be liquidated than pay back their debt. We have one signal request that carry over from last week, where Hexanaut suggests to follow DYDX by permanently removing flashment fees, helping improve both arbitrage for DAI and front-end user experience. Although there are risks for potential loss of revenue, DYDX has shown its liquidity pool increase by tenfold, making it large enough to cover most use cases. For more information on the forum at a glance, check out the Forum at a Glance post, which includes a 3-point summary, ongoing initiatives, and help wanted. And that's it.
Wonderful. Thanks, Artem.
Thank you.
Appreciate you making it work from the iPad there.
Yeah, that was the whole thing. By the way, guys, never make PowerPoint slides through an iPad. Your fingers will be sore. I guarantee it.
Gotta have the helpful life advice as well. So thank you. All right. So that kind of concludes the more broad governance updates. So now we're going to get into individual core unit updates. We'll start with me for the GovAlpha team. As you might have noticed, Long for Wisdom is on vacation this week, our other governance facilitator. So I've been trying to hold the fort down here. You can have a full copy of our update post there. Just posted the link in the chat. I'm just going to go over the other highlights for this week. I had a really good meeting with the Ducks proposed core unit, kind of going over how GovAlpha uses the voter portal and what tools would basically be helpful to have on there with our internal processes. So it was really nice to have that meeting, work on a few things, and kind of increase our communication essentially on how we use the tools available to us. Next, we do have Sebex has been working really hard on the forum tags and looking at different forum plugins to try and optimize things a little better. Hopefully make things easier to find, easier to navigate in the forum. We're looking to implement some of those plugins potentially pretty soon here. So we will make a broader update on that. And you will be noticing some changes within the tags as well, hopefully to make them a little more organized and easier to find what you're looking for. Last major highlight would be delegation. A lot of micro things within that. Yesterday we had the Meet Your Delegate call number 4 with Makerman. So he is our next recognized delegate. His and all other of the recognized delegates are featured on the delegate tab in the voting portal. If you wish to delegate your MKR to one or any of them, you can split it up however you wish, which is pretty neat. We also had an influx of basically over 50,000 MKR get delegated to our recognized delegates this week, which made it really easy to pass that second executive. A much quicker turnaround from the one 2 weeks ago, which was pretty exciting. So yeah, lots of votes within the delegates. We had new meetings, new recognized delegates. Encourage you to take a look around the forum as well as on the voting portal and let us know if you have any feedback on that. Awesome. As I said, the rest can be found there in the forum update for GovAlpha, but that will do it for me. And I will pass it off to the protocol engineering team. Chris might still be on vacation. And Derek, are you?
Hey, bro.
leaving?
Yeah,
Yep,
I'm here.
Awesome.
I need to stop scheduling meetings right before this one because they seem to run over. But yeah, okay. So hi, everyone. Derek from Protocol Engineering. I'm not sure if you guys covered it before I joined, but last week's executive will be available tomorrow. And that's adding Matic and the PAX PSM. This week, however, we had a team review of the GUni Oracle. We actually had Ari from Gelato team join us, which was great. We've added some tests, which is now ready. GUni is now ready for the next week's executive. And I think we're probably going to set the debt ceiling to 1 to 3 million. So pros, we can set the polls ready for that one for next week. There were also some questions earlier around stakes ETH. The protocol engineering work on this one is done. I think we're targeting sort of mid to end of September, depending on the Oracle sprint that's going to come. So I'll leave that one to Nick. So yeah, just starting to line up the next couple of set of executives. So that's starting to look good. Related to that, actually, there was a chat earlier in the week around staked ETH as a staked ETH curve pool. So I think there'll be some more conversations around that. I think I saw Nick and Sam, you guys were having that. So how we can use CropJoin to integrate it with such a pool. So I think people keep an eye out for that one. That could be interesting as well. Aave D3M. So we mentioned last week that Aave have completed a review. We've created one outstanding PR, which we still want to merge. And I'm still looking for a formal audit. So I'm chasing down a couple of different entities to make sure we can try to get that to happen. In terms of the forum this week, so we had the collateral assessment, which Brian completed on SolarX. We also had Tal today post DSS charter. So that is in support of institutional vaults. And yeah, there's been a lot of really good conversation about fixed rate solutions. So we're probably going to take some time in the next couple of weeks to review all of these alternative options. Like we had Deco on yesterday. Akiva joined our office open hours, and also Sense has been popping up in some of the forum chats as well. So really good options there. yeah, so that's all looking pretty good. On the layer 2 side, last week we did a high-level review with the team on Arbitrum, or with Arbitrum code. We also had a call with them, and we're going to do a deeper dive tomorrow. They confirmed that they are planning to launch next week, which is great. And however, they are planning to have an audit completed slightly after that date. So we've got some reviews to do on our side, and as part of our deep dive, I think we'll be putting forward a document to the community that talks about some of the risk trade-offs, some of the different options, alternatives, basically how we perceive the launch to be going and our role in it with the DAI bridge and what that'll involve. And yeah, there hasn't been much work on the optimism because we've been focusing on the Arbitrum code reviews this week. In other news, just to wrap up, there was mention earlier on Monday, I saw a note that the PAX token name will be changing from PAX USD to USDP. So there'll be some work for us to update that. And however, I think the PAX PSM will remain as it is unless we want to create a whole new ilk type for that. So that's going to stay as it is. But if there's anyone else on from PE, or if anyone has any questions in the chat, I'm happy to answer. And guys, let me know if I stream through that too quickly, or if there's anything you guys would want to hear in more detail. Oh, hang on, Brian, you're very soft. You need to up your mic. Or unmute.
I can hear an echo.
Not really.
Oh, hang on, we'll be quiet and let you talk.
Hey, Derek.
Yes, Frank.
Derek. Hey, bud. I have a question. So, I think 24 hours ago, Hop protocol announced that they're going to have the fast bridge for USDC and ETH to start with. You know, a lot faster than it takes to get out of Optimism, right? 7 days, and they're going to roll out DAI next with a couple others. So I was just wondering if it's still viable for the team to work on the Optimism bridge. How do you guys think about that, being that protocols like Hop are coming into the picture? And the second part of my question is, oh gosh, I forgot already my second part, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Sorry, man, just one question.
Yeah, no worries. So on Hop, yes, we are talking to Chris from Hop. That was a conversation that was happening this morning. I don't have the latest, but I do know that Chris on the L2 team and Sam were both having a conversation to them about engagement with the platform and yeah, the cross-chain transfers that they're able to support.
Yeah, I can jump in. Can you hear me, guys?
Cool. Yeah, go for it.
So basically, like, you know, Hop is going to introduce DAI support. Like we want them to introduce DAI support. It's all great, but you know, their solution is not perfect. Like they have various capital constraints, and they will, you know, they need all different actors in the system for it, so it works properly. So obviously it takes, you know, it will be much more expensive at the end of the day for end users to move their DAI from between chains. And you know, with Maker we can make it very cheap, and we have, like, in theory infinite liquidity for that, right? And so this is the first point. Second of all, like, you know, having the stack allows us to do crazy stuff later on, like with, you know, Maker deployments between other chains, like we can teleport DAI and so on and so on. So, you know, it's good that these protocols exist and they're, you know, gonna support DAI really soon. But at the end of the day, what we're gonna do is gonna be simply better. Like Hop requires more than 300% over collateralization ratio to move one DAI.
And as you can imagine, it's not very capital efficient, and we can just make something better. But it's great that there are solutions that work right now.
Cool. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Awesome. Do we have any other questions for protocol engineering? Or I know a few of you just hopped in the call, so if there's anything you wanted to add, now would be the time to do so. All right, well, we can always circle back because I see Sam's just joining now too. Up next, we have the Oracle's update. Nick, are you giving that today?
Yep, yeah, that's me. Mark is on vacation still, so we wish him a nice, enjoying, and relaxful vacation. But so, anyways, last week we delivered the Matic Oracle, which I'm happy to see that executive got passed, right, along with a bunch of other good stuff in there. So kind of looking forward, we just started a new sprint yesterday, and the primary goal for that sprint is the onboarding of staked ETH. So we're currently integrating that in both of our pricing tools, Gopher and Setzer, and hopefully we'll have a release candidate fairly soon. The other bit of good news that I kind of discovered yesterday was that there is a balancer pool now for staked ETH to ETH, and Lido is giving liquidity mining rewards for it. I assume these are in addition to the ones on Curve rather than instead of, and that would be really good news, because then we have two kind of price sources to query from instead of just one, which was one of the risk factors of why we originally wanted to avoid this feed-based kind of Oracle approach for staked ETH. But ultimately, right, and I mentioned this on the previous calls, right, the alternative, right, the completely on-chain one just ended up being too expensive in terms of cost. It just would not have been worth it. So that's good to see that our alternative is actually getting bolstered by more liquidity sources. So that'll be cool. Derek kind of mentioned this, and this is very early. We're still kind of in a brainstorming phase. But Sam and I were talking about adding the LP token for staked ETH to ETH in Curve. And this would intertwine really well with our crop join adapter, right? Which unfortunately kind of never really saw the light of day, right? We originally made it for farming the uni rewards on Uniswap, but then those ended. And then we plan to use it for the sushi rewards on the sushi LP tokens, but they're just upgrading too fast, and so we couldn't use it there. And so now we hope to use it, third time's a charm. We hope to use it for the Lido rewards, and actually I think there's Curve rewards as well, right? So you get the staked ETH yield, you get the Curve trading yield, and you get the Lido token yield. Right, and I think one of the issues that Sam brought up, right, is that we don't get the boosting, so we don't get the Curve boosting, but the Curve yield is also very minimal compared to the Lido yield and the staking yield. So it actually doesn't really matter all that much. It's like I think it's like 0.25% or something like that you would have maybe boosted to like 0.35%. So you're losing out on like 10 bips or something. So not a big deal. So like I said, very early, but looking through it, there's no obvious blockers. The Oracle piece is still a little bit up in the air, but I believe that Curve has this cool function that is apparently flash loan proof that just lets you query the price of an LP token. And if that's the case, then it should be very simple, but we have to investigate that a little bit more. kind of quickly wrapping up, internally, we had some discussions about the direction of the Oracle core unit in terms of kind of product expansion and kind of new products that we want to do. So the primary focus for us in the next couple months is we want to be able to get on other L1s and other L2s. There's nothing really blocking this. It's just kind of, do we want to commit the resources to doing this? We're looking at kind of chains, like Optimism, we're already on Starkware, right? We want to be on Arbitrum. We want to be on some of the L1s. So maybe like Solana, maybe AVAX. Obviously the chains that are EVM compatible are going to be much easier for us to do. For non-EVM compatible chains, right? Like Solana, for instance, right? That uses Rust, right? We'll have to either do kind of like some short-term contracting, or perhaps we can even talk with those teams, right, and see if we can use some of their resources to port our Oracle contracts over, right? I'm sure a lot of them would love to see a big name like Maker show an interest in their chain. So maybe there's some potential to collaborate there. So that's the expansion of the oracles themselves. And the other thing we've kind of been talking about is kind of bridges. So right, recently we were kind of tasked with this kind of for the Optimism kind of fast DAI withdrawal bridge, right? There needs to be some kind of oracle in order for that to work. But the mechanism is pretty much the same for every chain. And basically you're just utilizing the consensus mechanism that you have for the oracles, but now using this consensus, right, to say, did you see a transaction on the source chain? Oh yeah, okay, cool. Then send some kind of verification, some kind of signature or something on the destination chain. And so that could be really cool, because you can just kind of have like these little router contracts on every chain. They're basically just like message handlers. And so you basically create a standard, and you just now have message handlers on like every chain. And so instead of saying I'm specifically making a bridge from ETH to Optimism, as long as everything kind of has the same interface, you can just say I'm, making a bridge from ETH to anywhere else that supports this standard. And so you can start routing messages, all over the place. So conceivably, you could even start having, Solana sending messages to Avalanche or something, right? It's not just ETH to that or that to ETH. It's like, many to many. So that's very, very preliminary as well. But we're starting to hash out the details of that. And since it very much looks like to me, we're going to be in a cross-chain kind of world. I think bridges are going to be a really great product going forward. The economics of it are also a lot better than oracles, because with oracles, you kind of have to, like price oracles, at least you have to run them continuously and keep pushing prices, whether anyone's using them or not. With the bridges, you don't do anything unless someone's trying to do a transaction, right? So as long as you're charging like a margin on top of the transaction costs, it's basically guaranteed profit, unlike the oracles where you kind of have to, right, be a little bit careful. So yep, sorry, that was a little bit longer today for me, but that's kind of what we're thinking about behind the scenes at the Oracle core unit.
Excellent. Thanks, Nick. Saw a couple cameras pop on. I don't know if people have questions, but now's a great time if you do have questions for oracles. One day I'm just going to have like my phone and I'm going to pretend to ask a question into it to get conversation going and not have to sit in silence. It'll be great. All right. Appreciate it, Nick. Next up, we have Pramosh with Risk. Ready to give your update?
Yeah. So today, Jan from our team published very interesting research on Maker's Vault owners protection metrics. I won't go into details about the findings here today, and I suggest you read this interesting post, but the the short summary is that we were able to identify and measure the amount of users and the depth protected against liquidations with various protection type of transactions. The data is very encouraging, and what we are thinking of doing next is to automate these metrics so that we can follow this trend of vault protection through time and assign some kind of risk score to every vault owner. And then in addition to this, we are also planning to combine this so-called vault protection, the risk score metric, with another vault metric, which comes from our previous research that Marco did, which looked at vault market activity. Basically, we looked at how borrowers are utilizing the DAI that they borrow at Maker. So to keep it short, with these tools we developed, we'll be basically able to track both vault protection and vault DAI utilization activity of all Maker users, and then we'll assign risk scores. And I'm personally pretty excited about this methodology that we came up with and the implementation, because I really don't see any better way of identifying portfolio risk, because we'll basically have risk measured on user basis, and this is pretty powerful. Other than that, we have also just recently finalized terms and parameters for a 100 million Polygon treasury loan. The terms are in structure similar with what is currently being discussed for Nexo institutional vault. So it's permissioned, it has origination fee, collateral ratio, maintenance requirements, and a fixed rate. But of course, it has more conservative risk parameters, because we know Matic is far less liquid than ETH or Wrap Bitcoin. So we sent this draft proposal to Polygon today, and we'll see if they'll agree to proceed forward, so we know how soon we should start implementing this. What's also maybe good to mention here is that we are thinking of making a framework for this kind of institutional or treasury type vault offerings, because the process currently is pretty much ad hoc, and we need more standardized approach, which defines who actually takes ownership of these terms offered, which are not solely risk related, and so on. And then we're also progressing with Nexo institutional vault risk assessment. I believe we are waiting for the community for their feedback, whether we should proceed with these initial parameters, because the recent analysis from Mark showed that few parameters are not necessarily in Maker's favor if it comes to increasing rate environment. So I believe Nadia and Mark are preparing a signal poll on these terms, and maybe she can comment more on that later. And then finally, in coming days, we should also post exact parameter changes for offboarding K and CA type vault, and we'll also address the exact time frame of offboarding other collaterals that were already meant to be offboarded a while ago. And I believe that's all from our side for last week.
Awesome. Standard pause for any questions related to risk there. Covered a lot of ground between vault research and institutional vaults. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Pramosh. Looks like we're moving on to the real world finance core unit. Seb, yeah, given the update today.
Yeah, sure. So the big thing that you have saw is that success executive has passed. So I think that Matthew is in the code, so maybe you want to speak briefly about it and give us some perspective of what we can expect in the near future.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Sound great.
All right. So this is like about 2 minutes. Yeah, with the deepest humility and on behalf of the entire Success Capital team, I'd like to take a moment and express gratitude for those that voted in favor of the executive and granted the debt ceiling, and for those that voted the entire proposal and countless stakeholders along the way. It's been a long haul. A special shout out here to Greg at Real World RWA company, and all the Maker representatives, specifically Martin, while it's largely behind the scenes, has spent countless hours with legal compliance for the Cayman structure, to which it largely would not have been possible without. I can't also forget those that helped along the way and the never-ending encouragement and support. You guys just know who you are. Just thank you so much. Since some of these discussions started all the way back in the first half of 2019, this senior secured structure just represents a huge milestone, not only for 6S, but the DAO as a whole. We're just thrilled to be able to do this milestone together. We're committed on this end to always be an ever-present community member and a steward as one of those that will choose to pay it forward as we as a community build this entire ecosystem. We're humbled to be the first Success team is humbled by the trust the community placed in our hands, even if it's more political and reputational in nature. We're just going to work tirelessly to ensure the judgment to allocate that trust and that risk of capital is never questioned, not ever, just relationships matter. I just close with gratitude and optimism. We just started down a path of tapping into the existing credit system with secured structure, and we did it together. We just have only scratched literally the surface of what we can accomplish with the Delaware Statutory Trust. The journey on this is only beginning. As far as like the next steps, we're going to be doing as small of a test transaction as we can, moving as small amount of money as we can, probably the end of next week, to send it to the trust structure and send it back and document every single step along the way, document all the money that moved, whether or not it's an Ethereum transaction ID or actually with the bank itself, the trust account itself, so that we can put together a report so that the community can feel comfortable that the entire circuit is well established. Completely the crawl, walk, run model. As far as when we're actually going to be able to really use this structure, as any senior lender will tell you, you can't really rely on a structure until you have it, and until we had it, we didn't have it. So there is going to be a lead time of, now we have a structure in place. Still in my head, until we test this circuit, it's not battle tested. And until it's battle tested, I wouldn't rely on it, and I wouldn't rely on it for the DAO's money. So it might be 5-6 weeks before we can route our first deal to it. I hope it's less. Crawl, walk, run. But for now, I probably need a vacation. So there you have it. That's
Thanks. I don't know if there are some questions for Matthew. Okay, I know what you are leaving, Peyton. So to continue, we have published the risk assessment of SolarX, thanks to Christian. The governance poll is expected on Monday, so that everyone can vote next week. You can see the risk assessment here. On the finance side, Mark has published the financial analysis of the institutional vault. So in short, we are losing a lot of money if we losing an opportunity of making a lot of money if we do it, but there might be some strategic reason to do it. So I will let you see the details, and as Primoz said, there will be a pool for community to voice their opinion. We had some discussion inside the team about real-world asset decentralization and what decentralization means, because we are using the words a lot. And actually, when you go in detail, you don't know really what that means, because there are so many things that can be meant as decentralized or not. So for instance, in my view, if MakerDAO make a decision, it's decentralized because MakerDAO is decentralized. But for other people, I mean, if MakerDAO make a decision, it's centralized because MakerDAO did make a decision. So it's always the question: decentralized, centralized, yeah, on what scale? And that's there is a many dimension to assess. We are also looking to expand the team significantly on many fronts, because we are trying to add, now that we have a lot of real-world asset stuff on MakerDAO, we have the possibility to reach to new people and people that are working in finance and not in crypto. Because obviously before, the people in finance were not super interested to join a crypto project, especially one that didn't have any real-world asset at all. So we have opened a partnership with GST Capital. So I know that this was maybe badly presented. It was mainly a PR stuff, and the only thing we get from these partnerships is me able to pick the brain of Ray, which is knowledgeable in securitization. That's more than enough for me. So there is not much to see in this partnership if you want. And maybe we get more, and that's well. Or if not, that's not the end of the world. So Luca, that is the handle is Luca Pro on the forum, will join as to work on an audit on Fortunify. He's not able to join full time, but he will work on an audit of Fortunify. Again, super knowledgeable on securitization. He worked for many years in London for hedge funds and banks to do some securitization. So we are happy so we can look at it. And as you saw, there are many people that are knowing a lot about securitization in the firm currently, and that's due to the fact that we are looking for people to join. And so there is still one full-time position to be onboarded, and that should be done quite soon because we have some candidates. And yeah, I think that's about it. And if you have some questions, please feel free.
Well, I actually have a question I can throw out, so take advantage of that. You mentioned audit for Tunify, and I know we have some of the other centrifuge people on the call here. I was wondering if we had any timeline on when we might see some utilization of the recently approved centrifuge facilities. I think we have three new drop vaults that still haven't been used yet. So if that's a question that can be answered, yeah.
Yeah, so on concentrate, this will take a bit of time because they are doing some other stuff as well, mainly changing the middleware, so it's better. For arbitrate credit, I didn't check. It's more William that is on this topic, and he's not in the call. And for the last one, Fortunify, it's mainly they are doing a deal with Pipe that will drive most of the flow. But obviously, they are speaking with Pipe for now about 2 months. It was delayed opening the pool, so it will take a bit of time. That's my understanding, at least. I don't know if Lucas or Leah know a bit more, or can bring more color on it.
I can just say, yeah, like maybe to repeat what Matt said, right? Like now that they're in place, there's a lot of prep work to do to start using them, and that should come soon. But yeah, Seb, what you said is, I think, a good summary. Of course, like this is going to happen as fast as these asset originators actually have assets that they believe are good and should be financed, right? And that is just something we don't want to rush, obviously, because that would mean maybe the AOs would take the wrong kind of assets, and none of us would like that.
Awesome. Appreciate that update there. Did that spur any other questions from the community for real world finance? Well, can't say I didn't try, so thanks for the update. All right, next up we have growth. So Nadia, you have an update for us this week?
Yes, hello everyone. So here's the link with the weekly updates. We are in conversation. This one is, I think it's super exciting for me because we are in conversations with Bankless DAO to see how we can work together with them. We will help them to create a proposal. We are just like starting working on that, but we think they will help a lot to the protocol in spreading the message, and they will help us to find out what is that message that we want to communicate, mainly to the crypto world that I think we have a debt with them. And the idea is to use this Bankless DAO for different things, like create alphas, posting Twitter, have like a crypto Twitter army, shit posting, memes, and all that kind of things, but around a message. And I think this is what is powerful. Well, we all saw what they did with It Is Money. So we want to show to the community that Maker has been there, Maker is still there, and we are continuously creating new things. We are I think one of the first big protocols who are completely decentralized, and we are working like a real DAO without like a foundation in the middle, and no one is talking about that. So we want to start using this DAO, this bankless DAO, to talk about this and communicate it. And I also think it will be a nice experiment, and I think it will be like how things will be in the future, where we will see a lot of DAOs working with DAOs and providing services between DAOs. So super excited about that. Also, well, we are as well maintaining conversations with the projects that we thought because of the utilization we should offboard. So we talked with Loopring, and actually we discovered that they are one of, I think, probably the only one user of the Vault, but they are working on a product of them that is called ETHport that will help the composability between layer 2 and layer 1. So they are thinking that when they launch it, that will be during Q4, LRC holders and ETH, USDC and W Bitcoin holders will be able to, through Loopring, to open a Maker Vault using that composability between layer 2 and layer 1. So I think this is interesting, and well, we are just making suggestions to the community. We think we shouldn't offboard them because they are like creating an interesting use case. So LRC holders they will want to use Maker Vaults in the future when they release this product. With voting delegation, and I think Long mentioned something about this last week, but we started working closer with the UX team to help them talking with the main custodial solutions to integrate the voting delegation system. And this is great also for us. I think for both of the teams is great, because for them, we are like helping them with all these admin tasks of convincing someone to integrate something. And for us, it's also like another conversation point to have with this custodial solution. So that's good. I didn't include in the updates that you will find in the forum what we are doing with the institutional vaults, but yes, we are in conversations with Polygon. Actually, tomorrow I will review the terms that the risk team created. And the idea is, in case they accepted, to convince them also to use part of the loan they will ask to deploy that DAI in Polygon. So because we want like to use the DAI to increase also DAI adoption between the projects that are deployed in Polygon. So well, we will have that conversation with them tomorrow, and I will share the updates next week with you, with the community. And also, as Primoz and Sebastian mentioned, we are working in a signal request after reviewing the answers we got from the community regarding the financial analysis Mark did for the institutional vaults. We will be presenting to the community different options for this next institutional vault. Of course, one of the options will be to wait for one of these fixed term solutions that we saw in the forum. But we think that institutional vaults is different than the long-term vault. And actually, when Derek posted about this, he mentioned that in the forum. we think that institutional vaults will be something that we will do just for some institutions, like institutions that will bring a lot of DAI into the market, and institutions that understand and manage in a very safety way their vaults. So we think it's different. We see the long-term vaults or these fixed-term solutions as a fixed-term solution for everyone who wants to open a vault and have access to these terms. So we think it's a good first step towards having these kind of solutions, and this solution that others are creating, Aave with Aave Arc and Compound with the institutional solution. So so we are going to present the signal request to the community and see how it goes. The start of the week, an Indonesian exchange that is going to integrate DAI next week. And also in the tweet of the week, we talk about how the maker community decides to include new collaterals into the system. Sorry for the long update, and let me know if you have any questions. Okay, thank you.
Appreciate the update there, Nadia. And yeah, really exciting stuff. Thank you. Awesome. So last but not least for our updates, we have the Sustainable Ecosystem Scaling Core Unit. Juan, are you doing some slides today?
Yeah, thank you, pros. Hey everyone, my name is Juan. I'm the facilitator for the Sustainable Ecosystem Scaling Core Unit. Today I'm actually joined by Wouter and Nikolai, so if you guys want to take over at some point, please be my guests. Yeah, first we actually wanted to do a quick reminder of the incubation program and the status right now. So
I think you might be sharing the wrong window, Juan.
Thank you. All right, I lost the actual window. Oh, this one, sorry. No?
Perfect.
Yes.
So, as I was saying, first we wanted to give a quick update on the status of the incubation program. Pros already mentioned the DAX core unit. They're doing design and UX, mainly focused on the governance portal. So that's quite covered and well known by everyone. Then we have the D-Talent core unit that they are basically focusing on attracting talent. We have pretty important news about that coming soon, but I won't give it away yet. Then I think it was last week or the week before that, we announced the Immunify core unit. So basically they are creating a bounty program that Maker deserves to have like a top-notch quality program where everyone feels attracted to find bugs. And then we have the SideStream core unit, which is related to anything that's related to auctions. So any type of software, UIs, any type of thinking about potential actors. So yeah, they will be focusing on that. So we're happy to have them on board. Then we have the Chaos Labs core unit that they'll be working on testing tools and infrastructure to make the scaling of the software much faster and quicker and easier for everyone, accessible. And then finally, we have the base layer data API core unit. We can't reveal the name yet, but that's coming soon. Yeah, please let me know if there's any questions about any of these projects. We also have a bunch of projects in the backlog. So we were speaking to see how we can help other projects, either by incubating them or by just helping them as in a more advisory role. And on that note, we already had the DAI Foundation, which, yeah, they just been approved. So we're very happy about how that went. And now we are also helping Mr. Bourbon with his strategic happiness core units. So yeah, if I'm not sure if there are any questions about that, but all those projects are speaking with a bunch of existing core units. So we're happy about the progress in general. So staying on the incubation program, last week, Nikolai gave a presentation. It's on our public folder. If you're interested about it, please go check it out. It was very, very interesting, I promise. As we mentioned, the DAX MIP set is in RFC, so please give feedback if you feel like it. And we already announced the Immunify and joining the STS Incubator. Tomorrow we'll have actually the side stream team giving a presentation about what they're doing, what they're trying to achieve. So please join us at 2:30 p.m. UTC. Yeah, I don't know if Nikolai or Wouter wanted to say anything else regarding this.
Yeah, I mean, they will basically just be talking about what their core unit is about. So they're building services and tools related to the auction system, as you said, Juan. So if you're interested in that, I would definitely encourage you to join.
This is
totally.
also the first core unit going through our incubation program that consists entirely out of people not previously in the maker ecosystem or
right.
anyhow related. So this is a completely new team, which is quite exciting.
Yeah, and that's very important because it means not only that we're being able to transition the essential parts from the Maker Foundation, but also incorporate fresh blood that can give us more perspective. So that's really great. So happy to looking forward to tomorrow's call. Regarding the community, we had the MIP6 presentation with Chorus Global FinTech Fund. That was yesterday. I believe that the video is already on YouTube, so you can check it out. And we also had the focus on DECO protocol or DECO protocol. So Vamsi was there explaining the technical part. It was very, very interesting. So anyone that wants to check it out, it's also already on YouTube. I think there's a little problem with the audio and video, but I think that the content production is already working to fix it. Next week, we'll have a Lunchbot session by the Starknet team. So Louis will be joining us and explaining what they're trying to achieve. And on the 8th, we'll have the one and only Bourbon presenting the Strategic Happiness Core Unit, followed by the DAX Core Unit on the 15th of September. So that's pretty much it. This is where you can find us, our office hours, websites, etc. Let me know if there are any questions.
Not a lot of questions today, but still appreciated the update and presentation. Well, awesome. Well, I know you've all been waiting pins and needles for the results of the ratification polls. So I can tell you it is finally time to hear from our MIP editor, Pablo. I believe I've given you all the permissions you need, Pablo. See, you're unmuted, but I can't hear you if you are talking.
Oh. Yes,
No, you're super quiet.
Oh, sorry. Okay, give me 1 sec, please.
Yeah, I can't hear you either.
Pause here for technical difficulties. No, I hear some background.
Is it better now?
It's perfect.
Yep. Okay, cool, great. Give me 1 second, that'll be ready. Okay, can you all see my screen?
Looks good.
Okay, cool, great. So, hello everyone, welcome to a new weekly MIPS update. I'm Pablo and we're currently on week 4 of the August governance cycle. So the ratification polls for this governance cycle closed on Monday, the 23rd. We had 3 formally submitted proposals for this cycle. A proposal set for the creation of the DAI Foundation core units, the growth core unit MKR budget, and the declaration of intent for the onboarding of a new collateral type backed by PIP protocol. All the proposals were ratified with flying colors. For a breakdown of the votes, either visit vote.maker.com or check the wiki, the MIPS update I posted on the forum on Monday, whose URL I should be sharing right now. It's the first time I share something like this, but it seems to be working. Cool. So we're welcoming a new core unit, the DAI Foundation core unit, whose mandate is facilitating the dialogue between the DAI Foundation and the community regarding intellectual property, safeguarding intellectual property usage, and related activities. Moving on to proposals in RFC. For the MIPs, we just had the new addition of MIP 59, DSS Charter, a technical MIP by Tal Bannett in collaboration with Sam McPherson and Derek Flossman, which provides a smart contract implementation of institutional and long-term vaults. MIP 59 makes a reference to this relevant forum post, which I'll share with you right now. And the rest of the MIPs, MIP 56, 57, and 58 have been in RFC for a while now, so moving right along. For the coordinate proposal sets, we currently have 4 coordinate proposal sets that can make it into September's cycle. The only exception in this category, as I mentioned in previous updates, is that of Maker Labs, which is still a partial set, so it won't be able to make it into September's cycle. We also have 3 MIP 40 C3 sub-proposals, that is coordinate budgets in RFC, an update for the rolling budget for SES, the retroactive MKR compensation plan for the risk core unit, and the COFALPA budget for the 4th quarter of 2021 and for the 1st quarter of 2022. As for the MIPS portal, we pushed some changes today, the most exciting of which is that now some proposals are shown under their parent component in the containing MIP as dynamically generated content. There were also a lot of bug fixes and more invisible improvements. And here's the quite conspicuous yet unclicked feedback button, which I will burn into your retina. Please go browse the portal for a couple of minutes and click on it. I'll appreciate it. And in other stuff, I've just upgraded the pin thread RFC and formal submission dates with a link to a public Google Calendar with 8 relevant to the MIP process. It's still a work in progress, but should be useful as it is. And credit what it's due. By the way, I want to thank Wouter for the suggestion. And let me share a link to that thread in case you haven't seen it. Yep, and that's pretty much it from me. Thank you all.
Awesome. Appreciate the update, and we'll try to get you some feedback.
Oh, yes, Monkey Irish is pointing that I forgot to add his collateral engineering core unit, collateral onboarding engineering. Yeah, sorry about that. It's still on the weekly MIPS update that I posted on Monday on the forum, but I forgot to include it in this presentation, so sorry for that.
Thanks for the update. I'm just gonna scroll over there real quick and see if I can grab a link. Maybe.
Sorry, Monkey Irish. Slipped through the cracks.
Oh, thank you, Nikolai. Awesome. Cool. Well, that does bring us to the end of our formal agenda. As I mentioned at the kickoff of the meeting, we do like to use this time for discussing any topics or questions that came up during the meeting, or just general risk or governance concerns in general. Typically, we go for about another 20 minutes. So if there are topics, would love to throw them out there. If not, we can always end a little early. Let's see. I don't believe I saw any come through on the chat. So yeah, I'll just open the floor up. We'll probably sit awkwardly for a few seconds and then I'll think of something else to say. But if you do have a topic, please, floor is yours.
Peyton, you handle the silence much better than Rich would have.
I am dying on the inside, but have my hand taped down. Well, I guess there is one topic we have been, discussions are still pretty preliminary, but we have been discussing different ways to kind of diversify away from the USDC reliance, particularly in the PSM. I don't know if any of the mandated actors might want to speak to some of the discussions we've been having there or different things we've been considering. That feels like an interesting topic, but we also don't have to force ourselves to talk about it if no one's interested. Guess along those lines, we'd also be open to other suggestions. We have a pretty long list of different options for kind of diversifying away from the collateral. And I guess the goal is eventually to kind of talk through them all and put down some pros and cons for them and present to the community. That way the community can say like, hey, here are the different things that have been considered. Here are the benefits and the drawbacks to implementing any of these, and kind of leaving it open to the community if there is anything from that list that they wish to pursue. I guess that's a helpful self-contained update, if nothing else. I at least had some fun. Appreciate everyone coming here, engaging, giving us your updates. Looks like that's probably gonna do it for us for today. So as always, catch us on the forums or in Rocket Chat. Questions, concerns, comments, all open. And yeah, thanks everyone for making this a wonderful community.
Thank you guys.